As a music and film person, what was your number one film and your number one album of 2020?
Ooh, of 2020. Let's see, like albums that came out this year or I'm not sure if I've listened to anything that recent. I have an issue where I just re-listen to a lot of the same old music that I like. Um, so I'm like trying to rack my brain right now. Um, I really don't know. I haven't listened. I'm not sure if I've listened to anything that new, to be honest.
Okay, that's fair. Any album that you re-listened to a lot this year?
Mostly this year, I've listened to a lot of Anti-Flag because I recently actually finally discovered them for the first time in my life. I watched this documentary that was made called Beyond Barricades and got me really into their music. So I've been just pretty much on repeat been listening to Die for the Government and A New Kind of Army.
So, for your role in Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, are there any actors or actresses or artists in general that you pulled inspiration from?
No, I didn't really have any like specific like actors or anyone that I really looked up to because I was never really an aspiring actor. I had no acting experience when I went into working on that film, so I kind of, for the most part, used my like performative skill set from being a musician and drew from my own personal experiences to inform my performance on film.
That's really interesting.
Your band Starjuice released Reminders in September. First off, congratulations. I listened to it. It was very good.
Thank you.
And I have to ask if you have any more plans with the band to release more music or a possible album in 2021.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because of the pandemic, there's been a lot of sand in the gears of just any kind of, like band production and stuff like that. We have been filming like a DIY music video. So we're planning to hopefully release that in the early new year and then just working on, new songs and just, getting in the studio. And that's like all we can really do until it is safe again to play shows and go on tours.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
So, we already touched on this a little bit just a few minutes ago, but were you ever, like, did you have any experience with acting back in like high school or middle school, like plays or musicals, anything of that nature?
Yeah, not really. I was like a backup dancer in eighth grade musical one time, but like a very, very minor role. And so I don't really count it, but I guess, that's my only true experience.
I gotcha.
What musicians have had the biggest influence on your own music? The reason I wanted to ask that is Reminders kind of reminded me of 90s No Doubt a little bit, like less ska, of course, but like vocal style and instrumental. That's what I thought of.
Yeah, I mean, like where I'm specifically drawing influence at a specific moment in time is always changing. Um, like as a singer-songwriter, because I also play like as an acoustic artist as well. I've drawn a lot of influence over the years from artists such as like Pat the Bunny, who is very much headed like the folk punk movement, and Brian Fallon of the Gaslight Anthem, because I really enjoyed his like super emotional stylings, and specifically with this album, I was listening to a lot of like 90s music. I really always enjoyed sort of the like emotional aspects that are drawn like not only into like the lyrics but the instrumentation. So I was listening to a lot of like AFI at the time, and those still at the same time like Gaslight Anthem. Specifically, Brian Fallon has this side project called The Horrible Crows, which has me like sort of vibe to it. And so I was drawing a lot from stuff like that.
So many critics are touting your performance as one of the greatest performances of 2020 for your role in the film. Has this inspired you to take your acting any further, or seek out some of your favorite writers or directors?
Oh yeah, I mean, ever since the film came out, we did a lot of work promoting the film, going to, like film festivals and stuff like that. And I immediately pretty much already signed with an agency, and I've been reading scripts and taping auditions all from home while we've been in lockdown. And I did recently book another role for another indie film, but it's sort of still up in the air when exactly we are going to start shooting, because COVID is like a very big thing. Like it costs a lot of extra money to make a film right now. So it's kind of still just a TBD, but sometime next year.
According to the internet, you met director Eliza Hittman 6 years ago at a party, way prior to being contacted for the role in the film. Did the two of you hit it off and become friends immediately, or was it more of a gradual process?
It was very much, we met very much in passing. I was 14 and I just happened to be dating a guy who was staying on the couch of this like juggalo commune place. And I would go there to visit him. And it was like all these juggalos hanging out all the time. And Eliza's partner was working on film at the time called Buffalo Juggalos. And so he would be there filming a lot. And there was a backyard wedding there one day. And I went, and Eliza and I kind of met like very, very briefly. Like I really don't even remember it. It's such a vague memory for me. But she did add me on Facebook. And so like that was really our only connection. We never really like talked that much. But I guess she was sort of watching from afar and would watch the videos I posted of me playing like music in my bedroom, or all like my really intimate, awkward, quirky, long adolescent posts, like about, just what I was feeling at the time. And so when I was 20, I got an email from Eliza and her partner, Scott, telling me about the film and asking me to audition. And it was a really like bizarre and terrifying notion when it first came my way, because I was like, I'm not an actor, I've never done this. And after reading her script, and I had like a Skype session with Eliza, they convinced me to audition. And I decided, it could be a great challenging opportunity as an artist. And I decided to give it a shot without any like real expectations about where it would go. And then, like as we all know, I did end up getting the part, and it's all history from there.
So something that caught both me and Matt off guard, and something we talked about after we had both watched the film, was how grounded and expression heavy your performance was. Instead of very dramatic line readings that we tend to see in films today, your performance felt more like real and raw. So I guess what I'm wondering is, was this style of acting a harder thing to pull off over the course of the film as opposed to something that was more dialogue driven?
Right. I mean, so having no prior experience, I didn't have like anything to compare it to. But the thing is like, since I've like thought about this a lot since, working on the film, like almost like 2 years ago now, is I think one thing that really helped, honestly, is that I hadn't acted before, or that I wasn't aspiring to be an actor, because I didn't have all these like self-conscious things going on. Like I wasn't overthinking it, and like I didn't have much time to like kind of react to impulses and whatnot. So I kind of went into it and was just kind of, like I think it's because it was like more organic, like in that I had to, like in that I was just kind of winging it in a way, but drawing from my own experiences and trying my best to apply, like the like how I already know how to sort of like harness my emotions to give a musical performance. So like I had to try and do the same thing with this, but but also like reining it in and being able to like harness your emotions to give a more like sort of like microscopic performance, if that makes sense.
Mhm. This kind of goes in line with the question I asked earlier about musical influences, but were there any particular artists or bands you would listen to on set during the production of the film, just to maybe set a particular mood or headspace for yourself?
Yeah, I do remember, I don't know why, but I was listening to a lot of Bob Dylan at the time. I was in New York City, and for some reason, like especially like when I was offset, like whenever I'd just be like walking around New York, like I was staying in Brooklyn, like I just listened to a lot of Bob Dylan, also a lot of Bright Eyes. Um, I just liked anything that sort of had that like rustic emotional feeling to it.
Mhm.
That was like quiet but poetic.
What advice can you give to our viewers and listeners about how to stay creative during a pandemic when there's not much to do?
Right. What my usual course of action is, especially if I'm feeling in a rut, like specifically with like music or something, since that's like my main like medium, is like usually I'll just try taking up a new hobby, no matter how small it may be, because sometimes like you just need to kind of walk away from something, and like a new hobby can always like inform your other artistic endeavors, I feel. So like over the summer I took up skateboarding, and I bought like a dance pole, so I've been learning pole dance and like all sorts of just like little things like that. I got into screen printing. So just like anything, like just stepping away sometimes is what you need to do. And also what's really really important is to make sure that you relax and don't put too much pressure on yourself.
I agree. I agree with that. Is there any like local bands or artists that you're a huge fan of?
Oh my god, there's so many because they're all my friends. So oh my god. Well, I absolutely love. I think the first ones that came to mind. I love the Burkharts. I love them so much. A lot of punk bands like Voice of Dissent, Tapwater, who's not around anymore, but they were really, really, really great. There's just so many. There's so many. So like, pretty much, they know who they are, and they're wonderful.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for having me. It's always nice to chat with people that are especially like close to home and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything else, or are you good?
I think I'm good. Sorry, I'm like really nervous right now. So